Jerrick Mckinnion is back with the Kansas City Chiefs, and we're going to dive all into it and see if he could pick up right where he left off in the 2021 NFL playoffs and see how the 2022 season shapes up for him. But before we do dive into that, this is Kingdom Connects, where I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chiefs related that you do not want to miss out on. Without further ado, let's dive into this overloaded backfield that the Kansas City Chiefs have diving into this offseason. I know a lot of Chiefs Kingdom is excited about Jerrick Mckinnion coming back to the Kansas City Chiefs, and so am I. But it's not the same type of feeling we all probably had maybe if it would have happened like in early March, late April type of area before draft. If it would have happened then, we would have understood like, okay, like Kansas City's going to do what they did last year. He's probably going to get the most of the carries. Going to split between CEH. He's going to be your dynamic back out the backfield, and that's how Kansas City is going to roll. But things are a lot different than they were by the end of January when McKinnon was our leading back in the playoffs. They signed Rojo, they drafted Pacheco, they got Ely as an undrafted guy, and then they got Fleet as another undrafted guy who they seem to be huge fans of. So what do we make of this crowded backfield now? It's interesting to see, because if we mention it, we're going to start from CEH. Then you can, like, who would you have your number two? Is it Jones? Is it McKinnon? Or is McKinnon your solidified, like, 1A to 1B with CEH? Like, I think the thing that really puts a wrench in all this is, like, Ronald Jones. Because I really thought Ronald Jones was going to be, like, your replacement for Jerrick Mckinnion, and they were just going to go that route. Because if you look at it, it's really interesting to see. Like, I believe Rojo's on this team. I know it's a 1-year deal, but it's a 1-year, $5 million deal. Like, so that's not cheap money for a running back. So I believe he's still on the team. I don't believe they're going to trade CEH because, one, I know a lot of Chiefs fans don't love the potential, like what he hasn't lived up to, but he has potential. Last year was injury riddled. Rookie year, he showed all that potential, and again, injuries plagued it as well. But I still think CEH is on this team. I'd be shocked if they traded him. I hear that's the rumors with a lot of Chiefs Kingdom, like they don't see CEH being on this roster. I find that ridiculous. I think he's your number one back going into the season, and I think he could change a lot of Chiefs fans' hearts by the end of the season too. I think he's going to solidify who he can really be this year, whether it's good or bad. Time will tell. And then again, like I mentioned, Rojo, I think he has a shot to be a starter on this team as well, and I don't think McKinnon affects that, because McKinnon, he's probably going to come in on a 1-year deal, veteran minimum deal. Same as Ronald Jones, but with that, Ronald Jones, his contract's a little richer. It's not a veteran minimum. Also, too, Ronald Jones is like 24, 25. I know everyone loves what McKinnon did last year and everything like that, but Ronald Jones has to really mess up to lose his roster spot to McKinnon. Like, with how young he is, with the fresh legs he has, with what he can do in this offense, I just don't see that happening. Now you can jump into your third back, whether it be McKinnon or whether you place it as, it's interesting, you can place it as Pacheco or you can place it as Gore. That third back's going to be interesting in that area. I want to say it's Pacheco's too. Like, I think really the odd man out in a lot of Chiefs Kingdom is going to be hurt by it is probably going to be Derek Gore. And he's going to be on the team preseason-wise, but how he plays in preseason will either be if he gets cut or if Chiefs use him as trade bait and get like a 6th-round pick, because Casey's known to do that too, where they can get these low rounders for guys like that. Something just tells me Derek Gore might be the odd man out, because even if Pacheco doesn't make this roster, I think you can like slide him into a practice squad role, or you can slide an Ely or a Fleet into a practice squad role too. But again, it depends on what happens throughout the preseason and training camp as well, because if there's a team that likes any one of these guys, practice squad is not going to be an option. That's what I mentioned with Justin Ross as our wide receiver. It's like, he shouldn't even have been undrafted. So if KC really thinks they can get him onto the practice squad, it's highly unlikely. I think he's got to be on your 53 or he's just gone, because I think someone's going to claim him regardless, because I'm not expecting like a huge preseason, but I'm expecting him to show his potential in preseason and especially in training camp too. So when it comes to that, you're going to have to be afraid to lose guys, especially like a Pacheco or an Ely. And in that instance too, age is a huge factor in that. Would you take the risk of losing a guy like a Pacheco for a veteran that you know you might only have one more year out of too? Or I don't know how, like, the practice squad is so weird nowadays. It's not like how it was 5 years ago where these, like, aging vets, they can't be on the practice squad. Now they can because of the whole COVID thing. The practice squad's bigger, so you can have anyone on the practice squad now. McKinnon might even be a practice squad eligible guy. I'm not too sure about it, but it's going to be interesting to see. Like, McKinnon's, like, potential is huge in this offense. He can end up being your split bell cow and take most of the carries, get receptions out the backfield, or he could be fighting for a roster spot with the Pachecos and guys like that too. The way I see it shaping out, I think it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire's job to lose. I think he's your number one until otherwise, if something changes midseason. I still think Ronald Jones is your number two, and then your number three back is where it gets very, very, very interesting, because McKinnon, you would think, would have a slight edge over all those guys, but we don't know what camp is about. We do not know what preseason is about. This is where it gets enticing. I understand why Chiefs fans love McKinnon so much. Shit, so do I. I understand it completely, and I would have been all aboard for this in March and April. It's just very interesting to see it now. He's a welcome addition to this, like, running back by committee, this overbooked running back backfield. It's going to be competition, and that's what EB has preached in years past. That's what they always preach too. They may never have the best back, but they got one of the best depth in running backs, and they've always done it too, because when they have that next man up mentality, they always seem to never be concerned, because whether it's been like a guy like a Darrell Williams or Derek Gore, things like that, Damian Williams, guys have always come in when the starter has been hurt, and they've always put up stats. So I'm never really too concerned about the Kansas City's running back room, because they will always produce. The only thing that always concerns me with the running back room is the coaching, and specifically Andy Reid, and if they will run the ball or not. But they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, so we hope Kansas City will run the ball more, especially with the backfield they have, especially, like, throw it to these guys. I've been preaching that since day one. We drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be a receiver back, basically, and we don't even throw him the ball. Let's start throwing him the ball and see how we can produce in that aspect as well. This running back room is going to be fun to watch in training camp. There's going to be a guy who just sticks his nose out there, and we're going to be talking about. It could be a Fleet, it could be an Ely, it could be a Pacheco, McKinnon can show out again, Rojo, CEH, maybe all of these guys. That's what's going to make it more enticing, but it's going to be fun. That's what makes this preseason fun, is just the depth on this team. You're going to be tuned into all four quarters because you do not know who's going to show out. But with that, I'm going to wrap this video up. Surprising news on the day with Jerrick McKinnion signing. Let me know, Chiefs Kingdom, how you feel. If you feel it's just more of a, basically like a roster spot, or you think that he can actually compete and get that number one and share it with CEH, or if it's just going to be a battle. And that's what this running back room is going to be, just a battle. It's going to be fun. I want to get you guys a quick video. I'm checking out. You guys enjoy your day. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, as I will keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And with that, y'all take care. Peace.